Hey, welcome to another episode of Design in Progress. We just finished up our play of Stoikea. Am I still saying it right or wrong?
You are saying it correctly,
All right.
Stoikea.
Anyway, hey, we did it, Joshua. That was fun.
We did it.
For
And you beat me, so
I
well done.
did. Spoiler. It was a lot of fun. If you're tuning into this interview, go and watch that so you know what the heck we're talking about because it was awesome. You should check it out. So we're going to start this off. I'm trying to figure out how exactly to start the interviews off, whether I want to end with or start with this question. So my last interview I ended with, so now I'm going to start with it and we'll see which one we like
Okay.
better.
You're experimenting. You're
What
playtesting your own questions.
Yes, I'm playtesting my own questions, basically. What is your favorite board game and why? Or your maybe not your favorite, your go-to board game. If you have 2, 3 friends coming over and you're like, okay, we definitely have to play this, and
Yeah.
it can't be yours.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. I think so. The go-to, my wife's and my favorite game that we've played probably more than anything else
Hmm.
is Castles of Burgundy.
Hmm.
Um, and we have the new like deluxe edition that they released on Kickstarter. We
Hmm.
got earlier this year. It's phenomenal. I think I like games that integrate an element of luck or chance, but then you have to be strategic with what you're given. And are you familiar with
I'm not
Castles
familiar with
at all?
Castles of Burgundy, but I do love a game that has like here's your input output randomness. Now make a
Mhm.
strategic choice
Yeah, so
given
the
that.
gist of the game is it's like it's a city town builder tile
Hmm.
laying game, and each turn everyone rolls their 2 dice,
Hmm.
and then they can use each of those dice is basically an action that they can take that turn,
Right.
and they can pick up tiles, they can place tiles,
Mm.
but what they can take and where they can place is determined by the dice. But there's a lot of like flexibility in there. You can expend workers to adjust the roll of your dice.
Mm.
It's definitely very much a Euro style, Euro gamey
Mm.
kind of game. But there's a lot of different number of different types of tiles, different directions you could take your strategy.
Mm.
So I just like that one a lot. Some of my other favorites, I love Scythe. Pendulum is another Stonemeyer game that
Mm.
interestingly ranks kind of low on Board Game Geek, but
Mm.
I love it because of the use of the innovative sand timer mechanic.
Mm.
Brass, Birmingham, Splendor. I'm just going down my top 10
Yeah,
here.
you're just going down the
Um,
list now. Yeah, yeah. I do
yeah,
find I
Splendor.
for some reason you just sparked something in me that I've kind of been wanting to talk about a little bit, which is the idea of an actual timed turn has like
Mhm.
stuck in my brain lately. And I can't remember what we were playing that needed one, and then it reminded me of a game I played with Will like 2 years ago, where you were
Mhm.
trying to save a dirigible that was like a bunch of bad things were happening to it, but each turn was only like a minute long, and you could do as much as you could do in that 1 minute,
Oh, interesting.
and then that
Okay.
minute would be over, and then more bad stuff would happen, and then you'd have to do another. So it was like this
Okay.
weird mix between like it was like Pandemic if you could do as much as you wanted to in 1 minute, and then more bad things happen. you know, it was like
Are
the
you
insane.
familiar with Pendulum at all?
I'm not. That sounds interesting though.
Yeah,
I love a
I'd
good.
recommend looking into it. It's the sand timers are not your time is turned. It's not that your turn is timed,
Hmm.
it's that the actions that are available on the board each have sand timers,
Hmm.
and what actions are available to be taken is determined by the state of the sand timers, and you can,
Interesting.
if the sand timer is empty, you can flip it to a different spot, and there are no turns in the game, like
Right, so it's
everyone's
just
playing at
like
the same
we're all
time.
gonna play at the same time, and we can do what
Yes.
the sand timer says we can do right now, and then once that's gone, we have to do something
Yeah, and
else.
so different players turn different sand timers at different times based on like
Oh
what
wait,
they
we
need
can
or
turn
their
this now,
strategy.
and then now we can do this, and that'll get us
Yeah.
there. Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound
So, it absolutely would not be everyone's cup of tea, but
right. Right.
I love it. I love games that have an innovative mechanic, something that I haven't seen before, or is
Right.
a new
Yeah.
implementation
And I
of a
feel like
mechanic.
that's really the trick when you're like coming up with a game is like having that innovative hook, but having it be like presented in a way where there's enough familiar around it that you can be like,
Hmm.
here's this little innovative thing, but you know
Yes.
enough that you can now go play it without. Because if like everything's just innovative, you're just like, this is too confusing. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't grok
Yeah.
8 different new concepts at once. So it's like,
Yeah.
what is the hook that I can get in, and then everything else is kind of familiar, and that kind of
Yeah.
comes forth in Stoikea, where like you're like, okay, it's kind of like chess, but I can transform my pieces into other pieces, and it's on a hex
Hmm.
grid. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like I can like grok the like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm playing chess on a hexagonal, and my switch my pieces. Done,
Yeah.
easy, and the
Yeah.
it
You've got to
becomes
learn, you still have to learn the new move
right. You
sets,
have to
but
learn the
the
new move
overall
sets.
framework
Right,
that
and the
it's in
strategy is completely different,
is
but
approachable. Yeah.
your mental map
Yeah.
is out,
Yes.
is able to go. So, okay, cool.
Sure.
All right, well that was good. Then the next question becomes, what actually got you into game design? So is this like your first project? Have you always been kind of dabbling in the area, or?
Yeah, so this is my first project.
Mm,
I've taken to a state of semi-completion, that
mm,
would be, ready to pitch to a publisher or
right.
something. I've always liked games.
Mm,
Humorously enough, neither of my parents are at all competitive,
mm,
but they but they wanted to teach me and my sister to like games,
mm.
and they succeeded. Um, and so I'm very thankful for that. My dad taught me chess
Mm,
when I was, 7, 8 years old, and I never really got into chess, but that
mm.
has always stuck with me.
Right,
And I really didn't get into hobby games until college, about 10 years ago.
right.
Through a friend of mine had Settlers of Catan, and I
Good old
got
good old Catan.
Oh yeah, Catan was the gateway drug
the
for me. I got burned out super hard on
mm,
Catan, and then I graduated, and then suddenly I had all this discretionary income.
right. All of a sudden you're like, wait, I have
Um,
so much time
yeah,
and
so I
so
was
much
like,
money. What am I gonna do with
so
this?
so I started, just buying so many board games. And thankfully, I had a circle of friends that was interested in playing them. Interestingly, I discovered that I enjoyed like reading the rules. I'm
Mm.
one of those freaks that like looks forward to reading the
Like, oh
rule book.
yes, let me read
I'll
through
get a
this
new
all. Yeah.
I'll get a new board game in and I'll like take the rule book to bed for some light reading before
Right.
bed. I'm like, even
I
my wife, it makes my wife chuckle so much.
I did that. I did that
Um,
the other day because we pulled out Small World after like
uh-huh.
maybe we haven't played it in probably 4 years. We pulled it
Yeah.
out and played a game of it, and I was like, I forgot how good this was. And we have an
Yeah.
expansion to it where it has its own like tiles where you can make a custom map every time. And I was like,
Okay.
I this has ideas, and I like brought it
Yeah.
upstairs to my bedroom, and my
Yeah.
wife was like, "Are
Yeah.
you reading the rule book to that?" And I was like,
Yes. Yeah, so I
"Maybe."
was one of those weirdos. But my friends very consistently told me like you're really good at explaining rules and teaching games and that sort of thing. And so I don't know, about 3 years ago, I kind of had this idea for this board game,
Mm,
this kind of chess-like game. And I dabbled with it for a couple of years. But then this past Christmas, I got Justin Gary's How to Think Like a Game Designer book, which I would highly recommend to anyone who at all is interested in game design.
mm,
And it just lit my imagination on fire.
right,
And so at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this and I'm gonna take it to Gen Con and I'm gonna play test it.
right. We're gonna
And I
make this
did.
happen. Yeah.
And yeah, so that was kind of the impetus that kind of got the ball rolling. And
Hmm.
over the past 3 or so years, I have had some other ideas, but then since reading that book, I've got like a whole list of
Right,
ideas that
right,
I'm
right.
I'm
That's
I'm
that's always
excited
the
to
problem is
pursue.
is I have now my list of like maybe almost a dozen games now at this point. It's
Yeah.
like somewhere between 8 and 12, depending on how the ideas
Yeah.
intersect. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
how am I gonna
Yeah.
nail these
So that's
down?
so that's kind of the journey. Was interesting games for a good while, started to dabble in ideas, and then within the past year or so, that's really started to kind of pick up momentum
Hmm.
and actually making something to put out into the world, which is
Right.
super exciting.
Right. That's always been kind of my I was feel like saying classically trained because I when in high school I was in a bunch of choirs, so I was always like, oh yes, I'm a classically trained musician.
Yeah.
And now I feel like saying I was a classically trained architect. I went to school for architecture, and that was my always my
Okay.
favorite part of architecture was the like taking something that's nothing, and then you're like, hi, I have an
Yeah.
idea, and then a couple like months later it's a thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, I did that, that
Well,
was I came up with
it's
that,
interesting.
you
It's
know.
interesting that you say that because my undergraduate was in mechanical engineering,
Mm,
and I currently work for an architectural firm right now as an architectural designer. So I know
right.
exactly what you're talking about.
Right, it's like the most bizarre thing you could possibly do, other than like
Yes.
having a kid. It's like, oh, I'm that building, I
Yeah.
had that
There
idea,
was
and now
there
it's
was nothing in this field, and then now there is
now there
something.
is something. Yeah, it's the same thing with board game design. So we had kids, and I became a stay-at-home dad, and now I'm do this.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like, I had this crazy idea, and then you're like playtesting it a couple weeks later with friends, and they're like, this is a good idea. I like this. And you're like,
Yeah.
this didn't exist, and now it does. It's pretty
Yes.
bizarre.
People
So
are enjoying
then,
playing.
what was
Super
the
rewarding.
actual, I guess then, impetus for this game in particular? Was it that kind of your dad teaching you chess at an early age, or what kind of got you on the like, what if I could change,
Um,
the things in chess, you know?
Yeah, I didn't set out to be like, okay, I want to make a game. What's a game I could take and tweak it? It was
Mm-hmm.
more of it was I just kind of had this sort of back of the mind thought of like, well, what if in chess your pieces could change? And
Mm-hmm.
then I can't remember what the bridge was between that and the elemental theme.
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, initially, like in my very first prototype,
Mm-hmm.
it was on a chessboard with chess pieces
Right.
that I had just like spray painted to be different colors of the
Colors.
different elements. So water literally was moved like the knight.
Mm-hmm.
I think fire was kind of like a cross between a rook and a bishop. So stuff like that.
Right.
And then at some point the board evolved to hexagonal
Right. They were like, wait, we
board.
can kind of do the same thing, but with hexagons, and it's
Yeah.
cooler.
And then at that point, all
Okay,
the
done.
pieces just snapped into place as far as
Right.
their like move sets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I think it was just kind of exploring that idea, and then it sort of got a life of its own. That sort of what if. So,
Right.
and I've always personally like like growing up, Lego was like my
Oh yeah.
jam,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. You're a fellow '90s, early 2000s baby. I see. Where Lego
yes,
was like
yeah.
the thing.
And my favorite I guess Lego franchise was Bionicle. And
Hmm.
so like all the different elemental themed characters and
Right,
powers,
right.
like that was just like I lived and breathed that for so long. And so I think it's just kind of like part of my psyche now to
Hmm.
to
Right.
think in terms because another one of the board games I'm thinking about, it's completely different in terms of mechanics, but
Hmm.
it has a similar theme of that earth, air, fire, water
Right, right. That
stuff.
that balance out.
Yeah.
So the next question then kind of is of naturally then what is your favorite part of the design? Is there
Mm.
one part of it that you really like that was a good idea. That was the best idea that I had for all this. Everything else is good, but this idea I really really like.
That's a good question. I don't know if it's one. I like, and don't get me wrong, I like complex games too. I like
Right.
games like, Brass and Eclipse, but I
Mm,
like the simple elegance of it.
mm,
The fact that you can explain, okay, you move and then you transform, and here's your pieces. Okay, go. And
right.
there's some subtlety, some nuance there,
Mm,
obviously, that you have to learn. But I just really like that. Probably, honestly, probably just the how the geometric movement patterns of each of the pieces actually corresponds to their elemental type.
okay. Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. Of it
Water
just being like,
water kind of looks like it has kind of like a snowflake or a splash
right, or
pattern,
yeah,
or
splash, yeah.
fire kind of looks like a sun,
Hmm.
sun rays or stuff like that. The biggest thing was probably switching it to the hex board, though.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
that move was kind of when everything started to click into place.
Yes. Regular watchers will know that I love hexagons. They
Well,
are
good.
they are my favorite thing.
They
My
are in
my
excellent
game
shape.
my game that I'm currently working on features hexagons heavily. My dog just threw up over there. That's fine.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
clean it up later. All right. Well, then the final question is then, what is your kind of the next steps for you? Are you planning to try and do a Kickstarter? Are you planning to try and kind of just shop this
Mhm.
out? And how close do you really think you are to that kind of
Yeah.
goal, I guess?
The tricky thing about this game
Mm,
in terms of marketability is the fact that it is an abstract game. It has a
right.
light theme, but
Mm,
it's not the kind of game that I could go to a dozen publishers and be like,
mm,
I could, see you publishing this. Some high, well-known publishers
mm,
have some abstract games, like
right.
AEG has War Chest, or
Right.
Arcane Wonders has, I think it's Onakima.
Right. There's that. That's a really good one. Or it's yeah. It's
Yeah,
Onitama. Onikam.
Onikama, I think. Yeah,
Tama or Kama. It's over there.
butchering.
I own it, and I've only
I'm
played it like once, and I'm like, this is a good
I'm
game.
butchering the
Yeah.
pronunciation, but
Or there's
so
like
and then
Corridor, and there's the one that's the same company, but you like kind of stack stuff. But yeah. So
yeah, and
there's.
then you've got Rio Grande that has the GIF project, but
Mm.
its abstract games are more niche. So
I do feel though that they have, in a weird way, they have like almost more staying power because of their abstractness. Where like
I agree.
if you can
If
get them
Yeah,
hooked,
so
it's like I used to play Corridor with my mom when I was like a 12-year-old, and I
yeah,
still see people talking about Corridor where they're like, "This is a great
yeah,
game. Have you seen this game?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw this game like 20 years ago when it came out,
yeah.
but it's still floating
So
around, you
and
know?"
Yeah. So I think for me, I mean, Kickstarter sounds great,
Right.
but I think my preference would be as a first design
Hmm.
to go through a publisher. They've got the infrastructure, they've got,
Right.
the
Learn all the
whole
stuff.
chain of
Right.
manufacture, and learn from that, learn
Right.
from that process.
Yeah, I'm kind of in
So
a
so
same boat right now where I'm like, I don't know squat about distributing a game or talking to a manufacturer.
yeah,
Someone else do it and show me the ropes, and then I can do it on
yes.
my own next time.
That's my goal. That's my goal at this point. I think now that I've got the tabletop simulator
Hmm.
in place, which, shout out to giving yourself deadlines on things. Like
Right.
the fact that you reached out to me and wanted to do an
Right.
online
Like, yeah,
demo
let's do this.
forced me. It's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get this put
Right, I
together.
need it done by
Um,
Monday. Right.
yes. So
Nothing.
now
Nothing
that
like the threat.
Yeah, so now that I have that in place,
Mm.
it'll be much easier to tell that to publishers.
Right, to tell it to
I
publishers and
did,
also to get like just like random people. It's great to be able to just be like, if you have a group of people who know another group of people, to just be like, oh yes, let's play this online together, and
yeah,
it's like somebody from Norway or from
yeah,
Japan or from wherever, and
yeah,
they come in and they're like, oh, this reminds me of this game, and you're like, I have no idea what that is, just like
yeah,
getting all of those
yeah,
different ideas.
yeah,
It,
for sure.
doing the playtesting online
So
gets you so much more
yes.
flexibility with
So
that.
my
So.
goal, my goal at this point is to pitch to publishers. I pitched to some at Gen
Mm-hmm.
Con, and gave them my sell sheet and
Mm-hmm.
all that information. So we'll see where that goes.
Nice.
But at the moment, I'm in the middle of editing the rule book in light of the feedback that I got at Gen Con,
Right.
and then some of the feedback slash playtesting that some friends of mine and I have done since Gen
Since
Con.
the Gen Con, yeah.
Like bumping the pieces up to 6 particles instead of 4 is a
Right.
big
When it
one,
was
and
four,
then
that was the thing. Like when we played at Gen Con, it was only four, and I felt like I like made one blunder, and it was down
uh,
to like I had three, and the other. I think it might have been your friend who was actually playing me.
okay, it might
And
have
all of a
been.
sudden,
Um,
yeah, he had like four pieces to my three, and I was like, I'm just dead.
yeah.
Like.
Did it feel better with the
It
6?
felt
Did
way
was
better. It lasted a little longer, but I felt like there is at least a little bit more like breathing room in the beginning where like if you do lose a piece and you don't don't counter right away. You feel like at least you have enough pieces where you're like, okay, maybe I can get
Right.
one over on them. They got one over on me.
Yes.
Maybe I can get one over on them. When there were
Yeah.
so few pieces, you weren't even like fully developed by the point that you lost something, and you were like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what
Yeah.
to
The
do
board
here,
was
right?
too open, I
Right.
think.
There was just there was just openness everywhere. Whereas I
But then
think
the
no, go
other
ahead.
major change was if a piece is captured, it's removed permanently. And I
Right.
think that adds a
That
lot
helps a lot.
more that racks up the stakes as
Right,
far
we're
as like
like, okay,
trades and that sort of
crap.
thing.
Now, if I make this trade in this way, I can't use Earth anymore
Yeah.
at all. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, is that worth it? Yeah, it
Yes.
definitely gives
Yeah.
you some pause.
Yeah. So I'm that's where I'm at the moment is updating the rules, and I'm going to once that's updated, I'll host them online somewhere for,
Right.
the public to be able to view.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll provide that link with the tabletop simulator
Simulator access,
version.
yeah, to the publishers.
So at that point, just try to get it in as many people's hands as possible.
Yeah, just try and slowly spread the word. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's enough for the for tonight. That was a
We
good.
have we have
Happy
given it
to,
a lick.
we have given it a lick. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you are interested in whatever the heck we're talking about and haven't watched the video, go watch the video. It's awesome. Go play the game. It's available on TTS. I'll link in the description below the TTS workshop page and the Discord invite, and you can check this out and play it yourself. It's awesome.
And tune in again soon for when we play three player.
I will definitely have you back, probably in a couple months because I've got all
Yeah.
sorts of other stuff going on. But maybe in like November, we'll try and do a
Just let me
three-player
know.
game for sure. And I would love to have you on at some point in the next month or two to play one of my games, get
Yeah.
some cross
Just hit me
feedback,
up. Let
cross
me know. I'd love
promotion,
to.
for sure, for sure. And with that, we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.